Good to be with you. I'm Tony DeCopel. The breaking news right now.
Our economy is booming, incomes are rising, investment is soaring.
President Trump in Iowa tonight praising the economy just moments ago, even as more Americans say they're struggling. The new consumer confidence numbers today, what we know. And the late breaking news in Minnesota tonight. CBS News has learned new details about the fatal shooting of ICU nurse Alex Preddy. 2 officers firing guns and what was said during the struggle. Matt Gutman in Minneapolis with the latest. And the results from the investigation into that deadly mid-air collision between a military helicopter and a packed commercial flight over Washington. What went wrong?
This was preventable. This was 100% preventable.
One of the worst ice storms in a generation. 500,000 people still without power as temperatures plunge. What authorities are saying tonight. And a new way to protect your brain as you age. It's got nothing to do with exercise.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopel.
And it's great to be with you on a very busy Tuesday night. Just moments ago, President Trump landed in Iowa to promote the economy, telling voters he is focused on pocketbook issues ahead of the midterms. And it is easy to understand the pivot. Americans overall, including many of the president's own supporters, tell us their income still is not tracking with inflation, and they want more of a focus on lower prices. The president today addressed that, promising more money in people's pockets. We're going to have details from the White House in just a moment. But we have to begin again with Minnesota, where the president now says he's going to, quote, de-escalate a little bit when it comes to his immigration crackdown there. And his border czar, Tom Homan, has just taken over the operation. Our chief correspondent, Matt Gutman, has late-breaking details tonight. Matt, good evening.
Tony, multiple officials, and good evening to you, tell me that the rollback of ICE operations here has begun. That as CBP has put out its first report on Alex Preddy's shooting, including the first detailed timeline of the shooting and the fact that one agent yelled, "He has a gun, he has a gun." CBS News has obtained a memo from Customs and Border Protection detailing the shooting of 37-year-old Alex Preddy. The preliminary review says 2 CBP agents opened fire that day, that during the scrum with Preddy on the ground, a Border Patrol agent yelled, "He's got a gun," multiple times. The memo made no mention of Preddy reaching for the gun in his waistband. Today, President Trump faulted Preddy for carrying a gun to the protest.
Certainly shouldn't have been carrying a gun.
The president has swapped commanders in the field. Commander Greg Bovino, the subject of this pot and pan protest outside a Minneapolis hotel, is now out of the state along with other Customs and Border Protection agents. And border czar Tom Homan is in. Homan met with Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey today. In a statement, Mayor Frey said, "I also made it clear that Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration laws and that we will remain focused on keeping our neighbors and streets safe." Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. Does this mean that President Trump and the White House have blinked, that they're backing down?
You know, clearly they made major errors. They crossed the line of morality, of legality, and of decency.
This comes as a judge in Minneapolis has threatened acting ICE Director Todd Lyons that he would hold him in contempt of court unless he appears in person to answer questions about ICE detention procedures. Despite the de-escalation, immigration enforcement operations continue. And tonight, a federal judge has blocked the deportation of 5-year-old Liam Conejo Ramos and his father. Last week, federal agents had detained them in their driveway after returning from school. Law enforcement officials tell me that the city is noticeably calmer today, but organizers and some officials say that they're still hesitant, unsure if a change in ICE leadership means a change in tactics. Tony.
That is the question, Matt. Thank you very much. Late today, as we mentioned, the president landed in Iowa for a speech on the economy, saying economic growth is, quote, exploding. But at the same time, consumer confidence plunged to its lowest level in more than a decade. The economic mood worsening across all ages, all income levels, according to the survey. And the president is dealing with new fallout on Minnesota, as our Ed O'Keefe reports tonight. Ed, good evening.
Tony, good evening. The president's decision to send new leadership to Minnesota comes, as he said today, quote, "We're going to de-escalate a little bit." And as the calls for Secretary Kristi Noem's ouster grow, he's trying to put the focus back on a top voter concern. President Trump touched down in Iowa this afternoon, hoping to refocus on the economy and rally Republicans ahead of this fall's midterm elections. But the growing fallout over the shooting in Minneapolis followed him there.
Why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota?
CBS News has learned Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is facing internal scrutiny over her handling of the shooting. After a 2-hour Oval Office meeting Monday night with the president, Noem will no longer oversee ICE operations in Minnesota and refocus on southern border security and FEMA.
I think she's doing a very good job.
The president is standing by Noem as the calls for her ouster grow. Now, more than 150 Democrats are calling for her impeachment. Republicans, concerned about what they've seen in Minneapolis, are urging the White House to take a new approach.
They, being the White House, need to recalibrate on what needs to be done to make sure that that respect is going to be reinstilled.
Kentucky's Rand Paul and at least a dozen other Senate Republicans are calling for independent investigations. The president supports a probe, but his remark that Preddy shouldn't have taken a gun to the protest has put him at odds with gun rights organizations.
I don't like that he had a gun. I don't like that he had 2 fully loaded magazines. That's a lot of bad stuff.
Minnesota is an open carry state, and Preddy was a legal gun owner. The National Association for Gun Rights said there's no more crucial place to carry a firearm for self-defense than a protest. Former NRA spokeswoman Dana Lash says administration officials should be careful with their words.
Simply approaching law enforcement with a firearm isn't indicative of ill intent, nor is it a crime.
And in yet another example of the growing anger among Republicans, North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis tonight says the incompetence of Secretary Noem and the president's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, who oversees immigration policy, have, quote, destroyed the Republican Party's advantage on immigration ahead of the midterm elections. Tony?
Ed, thank you very much. The number of fatalities blamed on that monster winter storm that hit much of the country over the weekend is still rising. It's up to at least 34 people in 15 states, including 3 brothers who died after falling through an icy pond in North Texas. And thousands of people will be spending another night in the cold and the dark. Here's Nicole Valdez.
Tony, good evening. Right now, it's about 30 degrees here in Nashville, but for hundreds of thousands of people throughout the South, inside, it is not much warmer. People are desperately trying to stay warm, and they're running low on critical resources like food. Trees caked in snow and ice are still snapping and cracking across the South tonight, while bitter cold has burdened communities from Texas to Michigan. In Tennessee, state troopers are going door to door to check on people living with no power, as crews work around the clock to get the lights and heat back on. Local chefs like Daniel Yarzagay are cooking up hundreds of hot meals for those who've gone days without.
It was both heartbreaking and very rewarding because some of these people were literally crying as you handed them hot food because they haven't eaten in 2 days.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Today, another 400 meals hand-delivered to parts of the city hit hardest. Roughly 500,000 customers are still without power across the country as utility companies work to clear equipment encased in ice. Katie Weiss is in Oxford, Mississippi, with more on the aftermath.
Down power lines are proving destructive in Mississippi. This one came dangerously close to a church. And the frigid temperatures are adding to the misery and hampering the recovery effort here. Crews have made progress, restoring power to tens of thousands since Sunday, but there are still over 100,000 customers waiting for the light and heat to return. And the governor here has secured 30 generators from FEMA to send to critical businesses like long-term care facilities. Here in Oxford, there's still a shelter-in-place order in effect, and the National Guard is expected to arrive tomorrow.
Doctors from Vanderbilt University in Nashville are warning against using alternative heat sources like a gas stove inside. They've treated more than 46 children for carbon monoxide poisoning since Sunday. Now, Nashville's electric service deployed more than 700 linemen today alone to try and restore more power, but in some cases, they're just getting right knocked back down because of these ice-covered trees. The company says for those who are still in the dark, well, they could be days away from relief. Tony?
Nicole, thank you very much. Now for the forecast. When will relief come? CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano is looking at all of it. Rob?
Don't see it, Tony. I tell you what, the eastern half of the country, so many Americans dealing with the coldest air of the season, and more cold air is coming. We just left the freezer door open. Those poor people without power. It is just brutal. Number of winter warnings in the way of extreme cold warnings, cold weather advisories, and freeze warnings again for much of the state of Florida through tomorrow, and lake effect snow warnings as well. So winter continues to pour in, and the radar shows those lake effect snow bands coming in off all the lakes, and particularly Michigan, Erie, and Ontario, and a little pulse of snow coming through the New York and eastern New England area. That's the next phase of even more cold air. So here what it looks like over the next 3 days for some of the bigger cities with the wind chills in the morning. Look at Minneapolis. My goodness. D.C., you're at 0 and then below 0 come Thursday. New York's below 0 right through Friday and then probably beyond that. And Atlanta, Dallas, Nashville, those places will be below the freezing mark. A lot of buzz about the potential for seeing a coastal storm. We think we will see one. The question is, what track does it take? It will be all snow. Could it be cold enough for that? One of our computer models takes it closer. The other one takes it out to sea. The ones aided by AI take it even closer to that. Looks like we'll see some snow in the Carolinas. But will the rest of the East Coast see snow? We'll talk more about that tomorrow. Tony?
All right, Rob, thank you very much. Federal investigators today detailed a series of issues they say contributed to the deadly midair collision near Washington's Reagan Airport. You remember this story. It's been nearly a year since it happened. A commercial jetliner on its final approach to land crashed into an Army helicopter, killing all 67 people on board both aircraft. Senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve has the latest for us. Chris, good evening.
Tony, the NTSB believes the pilots of that Black Hawk helicopter were likely looking at the wrong airplane. But they say the probable cause for this accident actually stems from a decision years earlier when the FAA decided to put a helicopter route dangerously close to the runway. The video of the Army Black Hawk helicopter colliding with an American Airlines regional jet almost 1 year ago is haunting.
There is no singular person to blame for this. These were systemic issues across multiple organizations.
A shocking new NTSB animation shows how difficult it was for pilots to see each other before the crash. Wearing night vision goggles, the helicopter pilots would only see what's in green. The safety board believes they never saw the airliner, and it appears the airline pilots may not have spotted the chopper until about 2 seconds before the collision. The air traffic controller at DCA reported feeling overwhelmed that night, doing 2 jobs, according to investigators, juggling up to 12 planes and helicopters at the same time. The controller did receive a conflict alert when the 2 aircraft were still 1.6 miles apart. Investigators say an urgent safety alert that they were on a collision course should have been given.
Controller should have issued a safety, would have been the most appropriate thing at that time.
But close calls were a long-standing issue. Recommendations to move the helicopter routing away from the airport after a near midair collision back in 2013 were rejected by the FAA.
Is the FAA falling down on safety?
Is the FAA falling down on safety? I would say that they did fall down on safety.
Board Chair Jennifer Homendy.
We should be angry because for years no one listened. This was preventable. This was 100% preventable.
Doug Lane's wife and son were among the 67 killed in the crash.
Do you feel like the FAA failed you and your family?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like the FAA failed me and my family.
The NTSB is now weighing more than 3 dozen safety recommendations, many for the FAA. The FAA says safety is its top priority, noting it's made many changes since the crash and pledges to diligently review any new recommendations. Tony?
Chris, thank you very much. We turn now to a major trial now underway in Los Angeles in which some of the world's largest social media platforms for the very first time will face a jury over claims that they are intentionally designed to be addictive to kids. The case is being brought on behalf of a 19-year-old woman identified in the case only by her initials. She says she was hooked on social media from an early age, leading to depression and suicidal thoughts. The companies, according to the complaint, borrowed from the worlds of slot machines and big tobacco to draw kids in. Accusations both Instagram and YouTube have strongly denied. The owners of TikTok and Snapchat, meanwhile, have already settled the case for undisclosed amounts of money. But Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg is among the executives still expected to testify. Still ahead on the CBS Evening News, allegations of a fatal obsession in the murders of an Ohio dentist and his wife. And later, what science has to say about the benefits of being a grandparent. Stay with us. Tonight, new developments in the murder of a Columbus, Ohio woman and her dentist husband. Court documents made public today include allegations that Monique Tepe's ex-husband threatened to kill her many times, both during and after their marriage. Lacey Crisp of our CBS Columbus affiliate WBNS has the update.
Tony, what's contained in this document, an affidavit that was unsealed today, lays out police evidence that the man accused of murdering Spencer and Monique Tepe had been on their property just weeks before the killings. Michael McKee, Monique's ex-husband, has pleaded not guilty. Today, a newly released court document outlined what police allege was a pattern of abuse and numerous threats on her life, both during and after their marriage. They divorced in 2017. According to the affidavit, an identifiable witness told detectives that McKee had told Monique he could kill her at any time. On December 6th, 3 weeks before the murders, the couple were in Indianapolis attending the Big Ten championship football game. The affidavit says Monique left early in the second half, telling friends she was upset about something involving her ex-husband. That's the day he was on their property. She also at some point told a witness about a case of forced unwanted sex and strangulation involving McKee. The bodies of Spencer Tepe, an Ohio dentist, and Monique were discovered in their home on December 30th. Police say they were both shot. Their children were found unharmed. Michael McKee was arrested 11 days later near his medical practice in Rockford, Illinois. Now, we reached out to his defense attorney but have not heard back. He's currently being held without bond. Tony?
Lacey, thank you. We're back tonight with news that the United States population grew last year at the lowest rate ever recorded outside of the pandemic, according to new estimates from the Census Bureau. That rate, just 0.5%, is from July 2024 to July 2025, and it's so low because of two clear factors, the Bureau says. Immigration fell by more than 50%, and there was a sharp drop in the birth rate, which has been falling since 2008. Also today, UPS announced it's slashing an additional 30,000 jobs on top of the 48,000 jobs it cut last year. The new cuts are all operational positions, including drivers, according to the company, and it's all part of a massive restructuring, winding down a partnership with Amazon and turning more toward automation. You hear that word. In the same announcement about the job losses, the company reported that fourth quarter profits had jumped to nearly $1.8 billion, beating Wall Street expectations. Up next in a moment, the benefits of being a grandparent, including one that may surprise you. We are back with the good stuff tonight and a big question that just got answered about the benefits of being a grandparent. If your family is anything like mine with kids and working parents, it's often the grandparents, in our case grandmas like my mom Gail, who keep everything from falling apart. But does chasing around toddlers or teenagers take a toll on the grandparents themselves? Well, a new study of grandparents finds that quite the opposite. Grandparents who take care of grandkids actually score better on tests of memory and language and decline more slowly than grandparents who do not. I called my own mom for reaction.
So, Mom, are you surprised by that finding?
No, not at all. I find that they give me like a sense of purpose. They energize me more than drive me down.
Something magical happens when a parent becomes a grandparent, and to think the next time I call my mom for help with the kids, I can use the line she used on me as a kid. It's for your own good, Mom. I love you. That's another day in America. For all of us here at CBS News, I'm Tony DeCopel in New York. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll see you again back here tomorrow night. Good night for now.